Hello, and thank you for your participation and support of Mercer Intramurals. Welcome to the Captain's video for the intramural softball season. Today we'll be going over the policies and procedures of Mercer Intramurals as well as the rules of softball. There are a number of reasons you might be watching this video. For starters, you need to watch the video and score 100 on the Captain's Quiz on imleagues.com by 2 p.m. the day of your first scheduled game in order to be eligible to participate and maintain ACC points. You might be watching simply to learn more about the rules of softball, or you might be seeking more information regarding our department's policies and procedures. Regardless of any other reason you may be watching this video, remember that it is absolutely necessary to share this information with your team. We highly encourage you to recommend to your teammates that they watch this video as well. Regardless of whether your teammates watch this video, you are responsible for ensuring that they understand and follow all of the policies, procedures, and rules detailed in this presentation.
The Intramural Sports Department at Mercer University is a student-led organization. The program relies on the efforts of student staff to run smoothly. Respect and courtesy is expected from participants and spectators towards intramural staff members, other participants, and other spectators. Participating in intramural sports is as much of a learning experience as a recreational activity. Learning to coexist with others is vital to your growth as both a human being and a Mercerian. Intramurals are intended to be recreational activities. Please treat them as such.
In order to sign up to play intramural sports at Mercer University, you must make an IMLeagues account at imleagues.com. After you have made an account, you may join one same-gender team and one co-rec team for each sport. After signing on to a team, you still have to bring either a government-issued photo ID or a bear card to sign in at the game site. Failure to bring one of these things will result in you not being eligible to play that day. All faculty, staff, and students are eligible to participate in intramural sports. Players that are currently under suspension are not allowed to participate.
Intercollegiate athletes are ineligible until 365 days or one intramural season, whichever is greater, after their affiliation with the team ends. Varsity coaches will be handled on a case-by-case basis. A team that uses an ineligible player will forfeit the contest in which that player was on the roster. Teams must formalize rosters on imleagues.com by 2 p.m. the day of the game. Once a player signs onto a team, he or she is locked onto that team. Rosters are frozen in the playoffs and no one may be added at this time. The most debated and consistent issue the program has with participants is when a competition has to be forfeited. Game time is forfeit time. No matter what has happened in the past, this policy will be enforced consistently. Being a couple of minutes late is still late and will result in a forfeit if your team does not have the minimum number of competitors for the sport. Forfeits will result in a loss and forfeiture of ACC points. A team that forfeits twice will be dropped from the league. We recommend that captains tell their teams to be on site 15 minutes prior to game time.
If a team knows in advance that they will not be able to play a scheduled contest, they may default. To default, a member of the team must come into the intramural sports office and fill out a default form. This form must be filled out by 4 p.m. the day of the contest and 4 p.m. Friday for Sunday contests. Please note that a team may only default 50% of their regular season games. Defaulting more than 50% will result in that team being dropped from the league.
Any team that does not have the minimum number of players registered on IMLeagues by 2 p.m. the day of the contest will automatically default any game scheduled that day.
At the conclusion of each contest, the field supervisor and officials will assign a sportsmanship grade, 0 through 4 in whole number increments, to each team. Captains must sign the score sheet after the grade and final score are placed. Captains, please do not sign the score sheet if this information is not there. Teams that do not achieve a 2.5 or better will not make the playoffs. Also, teams that fall below a 2.5 in the playoffs will be removed from the bracket. Teams forfeiting a game for any reason may not receive higher than a 2, and the winning team receives a 3. If a team defaults, both teams receive a 3. If a team captain feels that the officials have erred in the application of a rule, they may protest the ruling. This must be done prior to the next play. The supervisor will then be consulted and will make a decision. If the team still doesn't agree with the application, they may submit a written proposal to the assistant director. Please note that only the application of a rule can be protested. Judgment calls made by officials are final and may not be protested.
In the event of inclement weather, intramural activities are subject to cancellation. The decision to cancel games will not be made prior to 4 p.m. the day of the contest. If this happens, the intramural sports staff will update a voicemail message with important information on the day's events and send a message to all participants via imleagues.com. Please note, regular season games are not rescheduled. Also, we do not allow the use of tobacco or alcohol on or in any of our facilities.
Now we will go over some of the basic rules of softball. All intramural softball games will be played on the intramural lacrosse field behind the athletics practice field. Please be aware that you must walk around the athletic practice field and not across it. Any team that violates this policy and continually walks across this field may be subject to removal from the league. Each softball game will be 7 innings or up to 50 minutes, whichever comes first. A new inning will not be started once the 50-minute time limit has been reached. We will not play extra innings during the regular season. The mercy rule for softball is if a team is up by 10 runs after 5 innings, the game will be ended. It's 15 runs after 4 innings and 20 runs after 3 innings. Teams are asked to bring their own gloves. Teams may share gloves. All bats must be 2012 ASA approved, and Mercer Intramurals will provide the game balls, but they may not be used during the warm-up time. The game will be played by 2 teams consisting of 10 players each. A minimum of 8 players must be present to prevent a forfeit. If a team drops below 8 players due to injury, they may continue to play. However, if a team drops below 8 players due to ejection or disqualification, the game will be forfeited. The home team will be determined by a coin toss. You may add players until you have reached 10 in the lineup, until you have gone through the batting order once. To clarify, you may add players until the pitcher throws to the first batter for the second time. Extra hitters must be placed in the lineup before the game starts. An extra hitter may be used in the batting order, and any 10 players can play the field. In co-rec, if a team elects to use an extra hitter, the team must have both a male and a female extra hitter, giving them 12 in the lineup. Substitutes may sign into the game at any time. A bench player may come into the lineup for any player. Once a substitute leaves the game, however, they are out for the remainder of the game. Starting players may re-enter, but must come back into the same order in the lineup. A starting player may only re-enter once. If they leave the game a second time, they may not return into the game. Any time a team leaves an open position on the lineup and do not have any substitutes, they will receive an out for the open spot in the lineup. The pitch count will always start at 1 and 1, 1 ball and 1 strike. Once a player reaches 2 strikes, they are permitted 1 free foul. Any foul ball after this free foul results in an out. Batters must stay inside the batter's box when the ball is struck. Stepping on or across the plate is an out, and all runners return to their previous base. We have a new home run rule this year. Each team may only hit 1 over-the-fence home run per game. Any over-the-fence home run after that is considered an out for the remainder of the game. Any home run that stays inside the fence is legal throughout the game. The pitcher must have contact with the rubber throughout the pitching motion. Once receiving the ball, the pitcher must come to a complete stop with the ball in front of the body. Once the pitcher begins the throwing motion, the ball must be released. Failure to do so will result in an illegal pitch. The ball may not be pitched around the back or through the legs. The pitched ball must be of moderate speed and any intentional throwing of the pitched ball at an extreme rate of speed is grounds for an immediate ejection. To be a legal pitch, the ball must rise at least 6 feet from the ground and no more than 12 feet from the ground with a clear arc. Any pitch that does not meet these requirements will be considered an illegal pitch. Any pitch that does meet these requirements and strikes the home plate or the mat located behind home plate is a strike. Lines are used to mark dead ball territory. If a ball enters dead ball territory, the ball is immediately dead and runners advance under the following rules. On a batted ball, the batter and all runners receive 2 bases from the time of the pitch, regardless of the position of the runners at the time the ball entered dead ball territory. On a ball thrown by the defensive team, all runners receive 2 bases from the time of the throw. In a situation where 2 runners are in between the same bases, the trail runner will only receive 1 base. When a defensive player makes a catch in live ball territory and unintentionally moves into dead ball territory, all runners receive 1 base from the moment the ball entered dead ball territory. Teams are only allowed to take infield warm-up during the first inning. The pitcher will be allowed 5 warm-up pitches before the first inning and 3 for each consecutive inning after. The umpire may deny these warm-up pitches if he or she determines that the defensive team is attempting to delay the game or was slow getting onto the field. In intramural softball, sliding is never required. However, any malicious contact created by either the defensive or the offensive player will result in an ejection. Illegal slides such as pop-up, spikes up, or rolling slides will be called for interference and the player will be called out. There is no stealing in slow-pitch softball. All runners must stay in contact with their base until the ball is struck by the bat. There are no courtesy runners or hitters in intramural softball. If a player enters the game for another player, it's a substitution only. When a force out at third is possible with less than 2 outs, the infield fly rule is in effect. An infield fly occurs when determined by the umpire. The position of the ball or the position of the defender making the catch is inconsequential. When an infield fly is called, the batter is out, but all runners may advance at their own risk. In co-rec teams, teams must alternate gender in the lineup. In a situation where a team does not have an equal number and must bat the same gender consecutively, an out will be recorded in the spot of the lineup that is unfilled. Teams must have no more than 2 of each gender in both the infield and the outfield. The pitcher and catcher must be of opposite gender. Also in co-rec, outfielders must be behind the 200-foot line regardless of the gender of the batter. They may cross the line only when the ball is hit. If a male batter is walked when a female batter is behind him, the male batter automatically receives second base. The female then has the option of batting or accepting a free pass to first base. Runners will advance only if forced, and in the event that a female is not batting behind the walked male, an out will be recorded and the male only receives first base. Captains, please remember that you must make a 100 on the quiz and that you may retake and rewatch the video until you score 100. You are ineligible to play until you have passed this quiz. The quiz must be passed by 2 p.m. the day of your game to avoid a default. Thank you for your participation in Mercer Intramural Sports and good luck in the spring 2012 softball season.